I want to share a cosmic perspective with you on the world crisis that we are all experiencing. This will help you to cope and stay centered. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I help people to navigate their spiritual awakening so they can embark on a conscious path of ascension. We are experiencing something unprecedented on our planet right now in terms of this global crisis that we are all living through. So in this video, I'm going to share a perspective with you that's going to help you cope and stay centered. And if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can join our growing community of spiritual seekers and light workers. Now, let's get into this. I don't think there is anyone alive today that has ever experienced anything quite like this global pandemic and all of its ramifications that we are all going through right now. So on a physical level, this is truly uncharted territory. Therefore, I want to help you get your bearings so that you can stay calm and feel empowered in what is an increasingly difficult situation. So let's look at two very simple key concepts. The first key has to do with our out of balance reliance on our experience of the physical world, which can leave us feeling pretty weak and vulnerable when things aren't going well. And the second key has to do with the larger cosmic situation that we find ourselves in. Now, when you understand what I'm going to share with you about these two key things, it's going to radically shift your consciousness into a much more empowered place. So let's start with the first key. The people who are going to suffer the most in this situation are those who rely solely on the outer physical world for their entire experience. Now, it was easy to rely on the physical world when everything was stable and predictable, because that made your experience relatively stable and predictable at a fundamental level. But now things are incredibly unstable and highly unpredictable from moment to moment. So if the physical world is all that you've ever relied on, then your experience could currently be one of abject fear and stress. Now, we are in the midst of a massive global spiritual awakening, and the main purpose of this awakening is to shift your center of being from being completely reliant on the outer physical world and your 5 physical senses to being centered on your inner being instead. And this is so that you can find your center in something that is stable and unchanging. And that center is the inner world that your infinite self is a part of. And this is what I call the real world. This is the world of infinite love, perfect peace, untouchable happiness, and perfect harmony. This is where the you that never dies truly lives. This is your actual source. It's your true home. Now, unless we wake up to who we really are in that world, we're going to feel like we have little or no power in our current physical situation. And we will be at the mercy of an increasingly unpleasant experience. Therefore, I strongly encourage you to stay focused on your spiritual awakening. It is the absolute most empowering thing that you have going on right now. I also encourage you to remember that our ascension process does not stop just because certain humans and the media have created these outrageous conditions on our planet. So it's imperative that you understand that your spiritual awakening is the most significant and empowering thing that you have going on right now. Because the more that you nurture your spiritual awakening, the more that you will become the light and the cosmic being that you truly are. And I'll probably do another video on this, so make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. Now, you need to awaken to yourself as a cosmic being because it is only from a cosmic perspective that we can get a very strong handle on what is really going on. It is only from a cosmic perspective that we can get permanently centered and grounded in this insane experience that we are all living through. And if you consider yourself to be a light worker, it is especially important right now that you supercharge your own spiritual awakening. Because as light workers, we can set the energetic tone that will serve to calm things down as much as possible. We can be a light for others in this storm. And that's our job, right? I mean, that's why we came to this planet. So if you as a light worker or a starseed have been in some kind of a getting ready mode for some future time when you are needed, that getting ready time is over, guys. I mean, the time is here. You are needed right now. So key number one to get centered and feel like you can cope is to amplify and nurture your spiritual awakening. That's where all your power lies. Now, let's talk about the second key, which is understanding our situation from a cosmic perspective. Firstly, I want you to understand that in truth, there is only light. There is only love, empowerment, clarity, wisdom, and creativity. All of these things are products of the light. They are expressions of the light. Now, I know that darkness claims to be a thing, but it isn't. In truth, darkness is the absence of light. But here's the problem. When you are talking about the ultimate light, that light is omnipresent. So in that case, how can there be an absence of light? Well, there can't be. However, there can certainly be a manifesting illusion that there is an absence of light. And that illusion can only manifest by resisting and suppressing the experience of light. And that's what's happening here on Earth. We are experiencing a profound absence of love, light, and freedom. So why do you think that is? Well, picture this for a moment. Imagine a very dark room where you can't see anything. Now, what if you went in that room and said, I wonder how I can get rid of this darkness? And what if you decided that the darkness was bad, so you needed to treat it as an enemy? Maybe then you would get a weapon and try to kill the darkness so it wouldn't be there anymore. You could fire every weapon known to humankind at the darkness in that room, and it would do absolutely nothing to make it leave. Okay, so then maybe you could try to reason with the darkness. Maybe you could ask it nicely to go away. Or perhaps you could threaten it. Or maybe you'd even start arguing with it. You could try with all your might to convince it that its existence is morally wrong. You could try to make that darkness feel guilty and talk to it about things like karma. And that darkness is still not going to budge. And then in sheer desperation, you might even ask the angels to take the darkness away. You might imagine that the angels have special powers that they could use to gather up all that darkness and drag it out the window of that room once and for all. But even if the angels could drag that darkness out of your room, which they can't, what do you think would be left? Well, more darkness, of course. My friends, there's only one antidote to darkness, and that is light. Light with absolutely no effort at all dispels darkness. It does so just by its presence alone. Now imagine yourself as a being of light. You are powerful. You are clear. You are made of love. You are connected to the entire universe, and you are whole. Now, how does that feel? Pretty powerful, right? Now I want you to imagine that light being suffocated and repressed. Imagine your light being so suffocated that you literally don't experience it anymore. You know what that feels like? One word: fear. Now, let's take the knowledge of what I just talked about and apply it to our current situation. I want you to think about what was happening just prior to all of this chaos. More and more people were waking up. More and more people worldwide were having a conscious experience of spiritual awakening. More and more people were filled with hope and optimism and were preparing for a massive expansion of human consciousness. We were feeling a lot more connected to each other, and we were all moving into a conscious path of ascension into a higher realm of being. More and more light was entering the human experience. Now, let me ask you guys a question. How many people do you think are focused on these positive things right now? You know, since this crisis got well underway. Not very many. Nope, the entire world is consumed with fear, and our entire way of life is being shut down. We are becoming more divided and separated than ever before. We look at each other with fear, as though the next person we meet could be the unwitting instrument of our destruction. Social distancing is now being injected into our consciousness as a way to survive. Now, I want to be clear, I am not suggesting that you should not take precautions with this virus. Of course, you should take the necessary precautions on a physical level. I mean, I'm certainly doing that. I'm talking more about the psychological impact and trauma of these new buzzwords. So in my opinion, we are in the cosmic battle of our lives. Something is trying to shut us down and completely distract us from our global spiritual awakening. And it's not humans trying to shut us down. What's trying to shut us down is a product of the false physics that underlie our entire universe and make it possible for darkness and fear to exist at all. Now, at some point in this strange journey that we are on, we are going to begin to realize how traumatized we really are. So if you want to be able to cope and stay centered, then start with your inner world. Get in touch with your inner being. I mean, it's who you are. It's who looks out from your eyes. It's the being that experiences all of this through your 5 physical senses and your physical body. Remember who you are from the inside. You are that ageless, infinite being that looks out from your eyes. You are not the person who's just been reacting to your outside physical world all your life. Now, making the shift to that inner sense of self, that inner truth of who you are, really takes meditation and quiet time alone. It takes a lot of self-nurturing and forgiveness. I mean, ultimately, you have to forgive yourself for relying so strongly on the outer world and forgetting who you really are. And all of this takes a continuing effort to tend to your spiritual awakening. And guys, you're going to need it. You need to be fully awake in this universe to be able to deal with all that is going on right now and with what may unfold in our currently unknown future. And this is what ascension looks like, my friends. Ascension is a very real phenomenon, and it can definitely be tumultuous and challenging to say the least. But it is our destiny to rise to the occasion and be who we really are, and not be swayed by fear and all of its accompanying illusions. And I am here to support you guys all the way. So stay peaceful and take good care of yourself and all your family members. And remember that there is an entire universe of help just ready and waiting to assist you with coming to terms with who you really are. So leave me a comment below and let me know if you found this helpful. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it out with your friends. And be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you catch all my videos to support you through this process, because there's much more to come. And with that, I'm sending you loads of love, light, and positive energy. Stay peaceful, my friends. Namaste.